Good day, everybody. Here we are again. Gonna do a little bit of painting and free to, you can pick my brain. I decided to do something a little different today. Rather than have my colors mixed, I'm just gonna paint, mix them as I go. And the process is a little different. It's kind of nice to have those colors just ready. But I thought you might like to see some of the colors being mixed as I went. So I guess we can see how that goes. And glad to have you here. I believe the chat is working this time. Strange thing that it didn't work last time. So please ask a question if you'd like. Be glad to field any of those. So let's get started. Gonna start off by establishing just some darks. I'm gonna pick out, I've got a 10 here. It's a filbert. I'm just gonna mix up a couple of my darks and just lay in some of these darkest values that I see really in her hair, some parts in the eye. And then I'll compare the rest of my values to that. Dip in a little bit of medium using Chelsea Classical Studios lavender spike oil medium. Their lean product, so it has a little more thinner rather than linseed oil in it. Today, using Utrecht brushes, 239 series, and numerous couple of brushes. Got lead white, got cad yellow, yellow ochre, cad red, cerulean, viridian, alizarin crimson, burnt sienna, and ultramarine blue. So I'll just start off with a little ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, and that's great right there. And I see one of the darkest points is just right here, so I'll just kind of lay that in, and I'll do the same, about right here. It's a little bluer than I was hoping. So the nice thing about my dark is I can take a little bit of the burnt sienna and just pull that in. Still get a nice dark, but give it that warmer, kind of more brown look of kind of a darker colored hair. All right. Also, there's quite a pretty dark shadow behind her ear, and so I won't hesitate to kind of lay that darker shadow in there. See another, again, while I've got this dark value on my brush, I'm just going to search out a few other spots. I've got a spot here in the ear. And those are really the darkest points I can find. So I'll take the next step and I'll bring it a little lighter, a little warmer. I'm kind of looking, it's a little more neutral than I would have guessed. So I'll get maybe viridian, a little bit of cerulean, burnt sienna. Gonna probably need to lighten it with some yellow ochre. It's a little too green, so come in here, grab some alizarin crimson. Again, looking for that kind of shadow underneath her jawline, and it's about a mixture of, I used quite a few across here that I wanted it just a little lighter than my black, and we'll see. Yeah, I think that's about right. When I look to my source, it's close anyway, and so we'll start there. I went ahead and already laid down or put down some walnut oil gel just to provide some a little bit of a viscous surface, so I wasn't working directly onto like a dried paint. So this is pretty close to really what it is up here on the eye. Same for some of the space. I'll just use this color here. The shadow under the nose looks a lot warmer, and it usually is. I mean, a lot of times you can count on that being a little warmer. So I'll pull in a little more alizarin crimson, and you know, kind of just work that line. Again, remember, all I'm trying to do here is, you know, get some of this information in before I really get down to trying to get some details and things like that nature. So shadow in the mouth, really warm too, so I use that same color. And did something funny there to the upper lip when I put that down. That's okay. And I'd like to lighten up a little bit. Her hair is still pretty dark there, even in the light area. So I'm mixing some a little bit of yellow ochre, cerulean, to make it kind of greenish. Hair is always greener than we think. It's really fascinating how it works. In fact, that when you go a little greener, it tends to work better. Just one of those mysterious painting secrets, I guess. So do the same down here too. Kind of going a little earlier in the day than I normally do. I'm gonna kind of work through lunch, see if anyone wants to join us around lunchtime, and or at least in the US. And yeah, see if that works better for a couple of people's schedules. All right. I mean, I think, you know, those darks are sort of laid in and they're ready. Now I'm gonna kind of make the next decision. The value in the neck, you know, is kind of the next step. And that's going to start to get into kind of a mid-range value. So I'm going to set my dark brush aside, and I'm going to kind of pick up a mid-range value brush. And I'm going to do the same. This one's a little bigger, but that should allow me to kind of get all the color here and here, kind of the lower half of the face, this region here, and then I'll take kind of one more step up with a lighter value brush. So I'm taking a look at the neck here, and you know, I'm looking throughout this region, and I'm saying, okay, I want to mix this color that I'm seeing. It's one of those things where it is obviously lighter than the, and yeah, you gotta bear in mind, I'm not gonna make her hair as light as it is there, and so I'm gonna compare kind of the shadow behind the ear to this value. It's another reason why I didn't put any of the white down, because it was already you know, somewhat dark. So we're going to start. I'm going to kind of start mixing off of what I did. I'm going to grab a little more of the yellow ochre and just kind of creating some of these neutrals skin tones are so neutral, but you can find the quite beautiful colors. So I'm gonna say that's probably about close. I like that. I may not like it when I get it on there. That's always the fun part. So that might work for the bottom here. As you can see, I didn't quite mix it all up with my brush. So that might work in this region, but it gets lighter as it goes up. And now I've just kind of noticed, sort of missed the dark line that is kind of being cast along this edge here. So I'm just going to kind of work that in. It is not that thick and it is not that even, but again, this is our kind of start. A little bit of the shadow extends there. Realize my head's getting in the way here. Scoot over a little bit. So since I've kind of dialed in what I think is the color around here, I'm gonna go ahead and fill in about as much as this area that I think will have it. I can also take this, or and just kind of work it into that shadow color a little bit too, just right up next to it. Okay, but I really do want to lighten this up a little bit better here, and realizing this is going to be start of our shoulder, so it's going to get lighter down here too. Hard to see. That just comes with knowledge of the figure and how it works. Because my model, of course, has blondish hair, and I'm not going to paint that. And my model also is wearing kind of underneath the costuming we put together, just a sports bra. And so, I'm not going to include the strap in there. So I'm kind of looking at this little spot here that's going to show that, the neck comes down, the light's coming from here, and this is another angle that's going to kind of come out this way, so the light hits a little stronger, and you're going to see that it indeed gets lighter. Just a little bit lighter there, right on that edge. A lot of mixing skin tones is this kind of, I'm using these complementary colors to mix these neutrals. So I think I'm a little not pink enough in this area. So you see I put that color down, I was like, nah, I don't really like it. A little too green. So I feel a little bit better about that. That can probably go just a little lighter, but nevertheless, we're gonna drop that in. Lighter yet. Okay, and then feels like it gets a little blue, a little cooler as it rounds around the front. So, I just added a little cerulean to that. Went way too far. I do that sort of a thing a lot, I go too far. So I can add a little bit more warmth to it. Probably the answer would have been, yeah, it was alizarin. Alizarin is a cooler red, and so I think alizarin was probably more of the red that I wanted to use in this area. I'm going to grab a little more of that alizarin, just kind of work into this space. Maybe some alizarin and some cerulean, get a little more of a purple. You know, it's hard to tell with the hair there. There's a lot of kind of hair on top of it right now, and I think I can go a little lighter. Right here, this might be a nice little almost kind of highlight part of the area, or highlight part of the neck that it's going to tell us a little bit about where we're going when we get into the face. Because I see kind of even in the shadow part, you know, I'm kind of looking at comparing this color to this color here on the edge. And I know that I'm going to need about the same tone. Hello, 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 A72, good to see you. Agnes, good to see you. Yeah, so my buddy, I have to go solo today. My good friend David is house sitting, so he is watching a couple of doggos at his brother's, and then my other guy, he's just downstairs. So I don't know. Maybe he'll join. Maybe not. I've got the kind of screen set up so I can turn around and check it out. So good to see you all today. So pumped you're here. Because otherwise, you know, I just sit here. But that's kind of what I do anyway, right? I'm just sitting here painting. So I might as well have a camera on. I don't know. So I'm going to work my way into this lower half of the face. Because what I'm really thinking about every time I look at this is, you know, how much light is here, here, and, you know, we always got to think about the overall shape of the shape of the head. You know, it's a sphere, and so, you know, light's going to kind of travel around it, and just kind of bearing that in mind, even kind of no matter what you're working on or what part, it's gonna come to that. Agnes, I'm getting to about the place. This is painting number 4 of the 5 Joyful Mysteries, and so I've kind of been holding off varnishing them and photographing them, but they will soon be shared on Patreon, and we'll be able to kind of see the holes. I realize I've been pretty quiet about what I'm working on, but I'm also trying to get it done. So I've been putting in a lot of hours in the studio, which, you know, is just fine, but I'm kind of exhausted, so I'm going to take a little bit of time off at the end of this, and I realize how little I do that, and I think it'll be good. Okay. And so Agnes, you got to be planning. Well, I don't want to say planning a trip because I don't really know the day, but or what day I'm going to do it. But I'm going to try to have all patrons, if possible. You know, I realize many people would say, "Why on earth would I come to Wichita?" Well, maybe just for one for one reason, but I promise I'll try to make everyone's stay really great. But yeah, these installed in this person's home, and you know, this is really the, you know, I kind of keep looking forward to that moment and really want to share it with you and share it with basically all of you who are, you know, making it really happen. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so you know, I was kind of looking. I saw it's a little darker on this side, and this is the search. It looked a little darker, it looked a little warmer, and so, you know, I have these kind of skin tones going here, and I'll grab a little bit, add a little bit of alizarin to it, because if anything, it's a cooler warm. It's a cooler red on the front side. And let's see. So I'm gonna do. I'm starting to get a little lighter than I want to here, but you know, it's just a lot of, like, on the tip of her nose. I'm just kind of looking at it. It really has this it's a cad red. So, you know, kind of working into my skin tone here. It's probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's always something we can pull back on a little bit if we need to, and I probably will end up doing so. Edge. Oh man. A72 edges. That conversation, I feel, is there's a lot of I would say a lot of people have. I feel like this is my answer every time to some of the best questions, which, you know, yeah, your questions are great. Edges are this thing that I think only in the last few years have I ever really thought about intentionally. Whereas edges are important, and you know, you whenever you're painting, it's in the edges that information gets missed or neglected, just because it is kind of one of those things that like for instance, I'm working up against a background that I've already painted. There's going to be a lot of areas that aren't finished, and I'm gonna have to go back in, touch up the background, this and the figure, in order to just get it smooth. I think rather than you know, really causing yourself a lot of grief and being like, I don't know what to do about edges, I would just say try to have some variety. So, you know, have some that are a little harder, some that are a little softer. Yesterday, you can kind of peek and see the little baby's hand right here. Yesterday, I worked on the baby Jesus's face and like hand. I did all these areas, and in the face, I just tried to vary it. You know, some sharp, some smooth, and not for any other reason than just visual interest. You know, you can. Our eye tends to go toward those sharper edges. So you can also use it as a kind of a guide for the viewer, where, you know, telling them where you would like them to look. So, you know, sharper edges are going to draw the eye. So that's another thing you can specifically choose to put down a sharper edge here and there in order to kind of move the viewer's attention. I think another way you can use edges is almost, you know, I'm not a fan of like painting camera effects, like depth of field effects in painting. Um, I probably talked too much about that in the past. But when doing that, like I will sometimes, just because of the way our eye works, you know, we can only focus on one. Like, you know, if we're in a room, if I was like looking at her face in this kind of temple setting that I've made, I would, you know, if I was looking at her face, everything else would be out of focus, right? It's just kind of the way the anatomy of our eye and the way it works. And so you can use that. Like I said, I don't think you should paint the background blurry. But what I think you can do is some of the edges that are farther away, like if we're looking at her, I'll probably try to make most of these edges soft because I really want it to kind of feel like they're a little farther. I'll probably make some of these edges a little sharper. Maybe some of these spaces that seem a little closer, and I may use just some brush mark with the structure of her face, and it will be a subtle thing, but I will try to, with mark and sharper edges, tell about, you know, just like anything, like this would be sharper than if I were looking back here, and even around the side of her face too. So it's that's kind of how our eye works. So my recommendation was just thanks for the baby hand. Thanks. Appreciate that. It was fun. So that'd be my encouragement would be to just think about edge as all edges where, you know, especially between forms are important to get the detail there. A little harder when I'm inventing, like, so these individuals were never in the space back behind here, but I'm trying to at least provide some sort of a setting, and really it ends up almost being like a stage like a stage production to a degree, where there's a backdrop, and so yeah, pay attention to where those edges meet up, because that's important. But then just choosing kind of where to do some hard edges and some soft edges, just out of creating variety and interest, visual interest. And I hope that's kind of helpful as an answer, because I'll just say I don't think there's really hard and fast answers there. All right, gonna get out a lighter value brush. You know, I've been kind of working my way lighter, so that I can work on the bridge of the nose, the cheekbone, and a little bit of the forehead here. But I definitely see these areas as catching the most light here, 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 and the ear's catching quite a bit too. When I'm doing Caucasian skin, you know, I always hate to talk about like certain paint mixtures that make skin tone, because I feel like then we don't look, we just assume. But a good way to kind of get near before making some adjustments, just, you know, take some of your white, and depending on how intense you want it, if you want it really chromatic, you can use some maybe just a tad. Grab your cad yellow, and then some cad red, and it makes kind of this light orange that is they can be very light, very intense. I try not to do a whole lot of that, because it just can be something that you don't think about and you just do it. Because this color that I mixed is not the color that I see when I'm looking. Like, I see it looks a little cooler, especially like there's a bit of a yellower to this shift here, and it turns lighter, and then a little bluer right here at the edge of the eye and the temple, and so within reason, you know, we're not going to try to do things, I mean, again, I'm gonna try to guess at my best, and then do it about in that range. So this will be pretty light, but you know, but I used I added some of the blue, some of this alizarin and cerulean, just because it didn't look as. No, I kind of see about the same color here too. So man, I will just rove around looking for those spots that I think it is. I think it kind of got it here too, about right here. Now I think the areas around those are just a little darker. Although that ear's, kind of looking at that ear before I get my brush too messy. I'm gonna I was sleepy two days ago when I did the drapery live stream, and it was even worse yesterday. So I didn't live stream the the baby. Plus I worked on it just about all day because I did face, kind of upper body, and the two hands, and I was pretty much wiped. And no one wants to watch like an 8-hour video. So I try to like digestible chunks, I guess. All right, I want to darken this a little bit. So I'm gonna just take a little bit. I'm gonna pull into some of the colors I was mixing earlier, and get this just a little darker. It's a little bit, but I need to kind of go more. I think that color kind of extends into the hair a little bit here. Let's see. Agnes says, popped in alizarin. Controversy. Oh yeah. I use permanent, and yeah, I don't know. I'm never one to. There's a few things I'll stand and fight about, but not very many. So I'm much more of a. I won't. I guess I'll try to do my best, but at the same time, I'm realizing that there's just a lot of things I don't know about paint and how it's going to dry and how it's going to perform over the years, and so. There's just so much we don't know. And just because we're like, and even permanent, I don't know, how permanent? 100 years? Like, I don't know. So I probably now, probably if I did two paintings side by side and I tried it, I might have an opinion. But I've never done that. But I have done a lot of lead white and titanium white painting with skin tones, and have come to a wow, I really prefer lead white and the way it works. Now, there's, again, I spent a whole workshop with a painter that I admire tremendously, and he used titanium. And so for the workshop, I used titanium, and that it's all good. I'm not. I mean, his work is phenomenal. He does a great job. So yeah, and he's a big permanent guy. So he likes to use permanent alizarin. And yeah, I will probably, I don't know, did I say, no, original, sorry. He likes to use the original alizarin, knowing that it may discolor in time. And I just use permanent. So sorry, I don't have any people want people to get really passionate about this sort of a thing, and yeah, I can't get too drawn into it. How about you, Agnes? What do you think? A72, that's nice. But the baby hand, I like the other hand too. Maybe a little later, if I basically wrap this up, I could switch over to showing off the hands. But there we go. It looked a little cooler here, this edge of this ear. And, you know, it's getting fun to get some of these shapes going. Got a fun angle on the ear. Things you say when you're a figurative painter. I got a fun angle on the ear. Lighthearted. Okay, good, good. Genuine. Okay. Gosh, I don't know how similar it is or not. And really, you know, and that's the other funny thing, you know, I was at the workshop with, you know, 9 other artists, and the alizarin on my palette, which was from Sennelier, or Sennelier. I got to use my French, and mine was significantly lighter than some of theirs, and theirs were also permanent. So yeah, you can't get. I mean, maybe if I used, like I said, maybe if I used the two side by side, just could see if I noticed a difference. But I really, you know I say this a lot, but I feel like only in the last few years, and maybe it's just because I'm getting older and more crotchety or something, where I'll be a little more opinionated about some things, but you know, not often. Just because I realize there are so many artists that I love and respect who feel this way about it or feel that way about it, and I can't really disagree with everybody that I know and love. I'll be honest, I think I've had this tube of permanent alizarin since 2016. And I bought it I gave a skin tone workshop here in Wichita, and I bought a big tube of it, and we didn't use it all in the workshop, and I've been painting with it ever since. I'm still, I think it's always a little funny for me, because I realize how much of how I paint is informed by just the fact that I am a Kansan. I'm a Midwesterner. We're largely, you know, Wichita is a good-sized city, but it's a small city. It's still surrounded by a lot of rural communities, and I'm kind of a person of the soil still. I still think, and I still think like a farmer. I still think like, you know, using things to the last drop, and you know, not getting anything new until I've gone through, you know, everything else, and so, you know, like, so very frugal with the amount of paint I put down, you know, and yeah, it permeates into kind of the artist that I am too. So I've been thinking a lot lately of how I can start incorporating more of those sensibilities that are mine, you know, coming from this specific place. It's interesting. I grew up, you know, we were never in want, but it definitely grew up in a household where we had to be very frugal, and so, you know, that's so I just kind of, those things follow me. So it was funny at the workshop. You know, they're kind of like, hey, you know, put out more paint. If you want to paint more thickly, put out more paint. And that makes perfect sense. So. Yep, I feel you. And I think doing a couple side by side, I think would be really a way to find out. So let me know what you find out, Agnes, when you do it. I've got more to learn. Okay, I'm gonna try to get this kind of in between skin tones. A little too yellowy green, I think. It's a little warmer than there, but this is going good. You know, the major block in is just about done. And you know, so in this video, I tried to change it up a little bit so you could just see me, rather than kind of mix up a bunch of piles, work a little more where I'm just pulling directly from some of these colors, so that maybe you can say, oh, okay, he didn't explain it because he was distracted. No one's fault in that except my own. But I can see, oh, he kind of switched that up so it's a little warmer, a little cooler. Yeah, probably the hill that I'll die on, since we're talking a little bit about opinions on color and things like that, is using a limited palette. And I very firmly believe in, you know, painting with as few tube colors out and forcing yourself to mix. You know, I don't really have a flesh tone out here. I'm always going to have to mix my flesh tone. I don't, in darks and lights, none of these can I just put down directly and have it work. So I'm always going to have to mix these together for every color. And whether we realize it or not, I had to do the same in the background. I had to do the same in her red. You know, that's obviously a lot of alizarin. But, you know, think about the alizarin that I'm using in her skin tone here, and it communicates even if we don't realize it. All right, I need to get a few more things in here. Yep. If you've just joined the stream, drop a question off. Got my good friends A72 and Agnes here. Agnes, can I just throw you a quick shout out and say thank you for being a patron of this channel. Everyone should also tell Agnes thank you, because it's her and a handful of other people who have allowed some of this equipment to be purchased, who've allowed for so much of this to happen. So shout out, thank you, Agnes, very much. I was again challenged at the workshop to, like, not worry so much about getting specifics in the eyes, but getting just the right amount of information. the information I can see, not what I'm kind of making up that I think I'm seeing. Lower chin seems really cool. So I've only used so far, Barack, what's up, man? Good to see you. So far I've only, I've kind of blocked in these major shapes. We stayed big. I've kind of used a dark brush that, for my dark values, kind of a mid-range that started to get a little light, and then light values. That's it. But now I'm starting to get to areas that I'm thinking, okay, I've got to spend a little more time now fleshing out some of these edges, and it's just going to get a little tighter. And so it's usually about this time that I set these aside, and I go a bit smaller. Well, and sometimes I go a lot smaller because I'm out of like good size brushes right now, like they're all a little kind of worn out. That'll be one of the things for the new year, buy some new brushes. A couple more tax write-offs. So I'll probably switch up now to, still using kind of these flats. I'm always a flat person. I just like, I like the way that allows me to sort of piece things together, almost like I'm building up a polygon in a video game where, I'm seeing this edge and this edge and this edge, and I just like to piece those together until it's working. And so here we go. Let's get a little smaller and see where we end up. I'm going to focus in and around the eye, but there's not a lot of satisfying information around it in the source. I mean, you're kind of looking at it. I'm not getting this great glint or any of these things that are tremendously beautiful. Although the thing that's calling to me right now, and strangely, is the ear. I want to put this really warm. I'm going to grab almost straight alizarin here, maybe just a little bit of burnt sienna. And I'm going to put this where the light is just bouncing around in here in the shadow. It's really dark. And I'm just going to use that to kind of put it in there. This pop of color that's really intense. I'm going to use still a bunch of the... I know didn't I say I was going to start on the eye and then I didn't? Isn't that funny? Because something else grabbed my attention. I was like, ooh, I really want to get some of these dark values that are they're warm and hard to see. I know when the picture is as small as it is on there, but the values are just really warm. All that that's semi-transparent. Yeah, I probably didn't. Did you ever think about that? That you're a very transparent person. And so, yeah, some of these transparent. So like, I'm going to work into this edge, just make it a little redder. And I feel like I see it getting pretty red as it kind of comes back around here. And definitely is that edge. Well, I just used the word edge, A72. So I'm thinking about, the light falling on the ear, and then I'm thinking about this edge, as the form is turning. It's just a little form. It's not like a big cheekbone, but as it's turning around into the shadow, I see warmth there, and so I'm just trying to kind of soften. So here it is. I'm softening. I want to kind of send it back, and so I'm kind of softening it with this really warm color, alizarin. And And so far I really like how that ear is hitting the light, and it's only a couple shapes. To me, that's the exciting thing about this. Every time, it doesn't, you don't have to get too consumed with like, okay, I've got to get this little bit here. But there's just a few interesting shapes that I thought were the big carriers of the kind of three-dimensional quality of the ear. I wanted to put a few more of those in. Now I don't want to go any further on this because I want to take that about the same amount of detail into the other features, and just slowly work around and get there. Although I like a little bit of red here. That's nice. Just because that hair against the skin. We'll leave that there for now. I probably went too far on that. Come back to that. All right. So these are the moments where I'm looking and I'm saying, okay, what needs, where am I gonna go when I go there? Okay, so I'm gonna go into the eye here. I'm looking specifically at how this line kind of then meets up with her eyebrow, and kind of looking at that. It's a very neutral dark, so I'm not seeing a lot of warmth. So I'm gonna dig into some of this cooler, has a little bit of viridian in it, and it's beginning to neutralize that alizarin that I had on there. And again, two very intense colors that I mixed together to create a near neutral that, again, I think creates, it's a little too warm still. So I might back it off with some cerulean and a little bit of burnt sienna. I know that's warm too, but I thought I would just kind of bring that down some. Kind of looking at her hairline. I think it extends a little more. So that I will get distracted, and I'll say, I think this comes out a little more. Some of her hairline kind of works into some of these areas. So can't go wrong with the soft edge anytime near the hairline. That's almost a rule. So the softer I can make this transition, sometimes it's a little cooler. Sometimes there's a very beautiful cool line between skin and hair, especially some with darker hair, lighter complected skin, darker hair. That's quite beautiful. So I'm kind of looking, eye extends a little further here, I cannot make anything out in there. Again, not a problem, I just need to stay to it, stay true, and not add a bunch of extra stuff. Because I have put her in a scene, and a backdrop that, she is not in. I'm gonna start kind of working on this edge a little bit, because I want to use a little liner to kind of clean up some of this to see if because right now it's bugging me because there's a lot of ground layer showing up and some of my drawing as well. All right, let's see. Brock says you're a very transparent person. Rather than might be the most vague comment, how about the most opaque comment I've ever heard? Cerulean. My cerulean is a little I guess it's a little sandy. I don't feel like it's any more sandy than the lead white. I think lead white is the most gritty of what I use. And then maybe cerulean might be next, followed by yellow ochre, and then it gets pretty smooth on out, I think. It's my 2 cents. So I'm gonna work this line a little bit here, just some of these edges, and which is a smaller brush, because you know I'm getting into spaces where I do need to come up to what's there. Need to do it accurately. It's a drawing thing. Because those edges dealt with will start to make things problematic. There's a little bit of a shadow that comes down I can barely see under the nose here, so. And these are those little like drawing things I will continue to adjust. Like this is not nearly as dark as I have it, you know, throughout here. There's all this transition here. So I know that was a value adjustment. But I'm going to slowly start working in and around. And I might have to come back in, remix some of these colors, and come back in, kind of work back into this region, which I never like doing. You know, you try to keep the fidelity of your drawing, but sometimes you have to. Sometimes it's lost. Just sort of the way it works. Always a pinky. I did feel vindicated at the workshop. The artist, he used his pinky a lot, so I was like, all right, yeah, pinky stabilizer. Soften this shadow just a little bit. Still trying to clean up the edges where I think they just need it right up against the background. And hopefully this is creating kind of that soft edge that we were talking about earlier, A72, where you know, and I may make, you know, say that, okay, I just see a little bit of structure here. I mean, it's much darker. I don't know how hard I want to make that. I probably want to make it a little softer than what this source is. There is a, try to avoid the mustache look, but carry that shadow up a little bit. Smooth or coarse paints? I don't know. I think it's all pretty smooth. I mean, like I said, I just said in past videos, I just buy tube colors. I don't, you know, I realize one can make them and that they can be great, and I just have I've always avoided that extra effort in the interest of getting more painting done. I just buy tubes. So and then let's see, next question. You said, yeah, texture, silky smooth. It is pretty nice. Pinky brace, that's right. Yeah, love the pinky. I was looking at some other options because I never quite got good with the mall stick. And the other, like, almost like something that could sit here that I could rest my elbow on. And I might give something like that a go sometime, because I think that would still give me a lot of both balance but freedom here, and then would continue to let my left arm just atrophy as it already is. All right. I'm seeing one small thing that I want to try to adjust, and just it's the shape of the mouth. This will be a drawing adjustment. I just want to carry this up a little bit so that there's more of a slight smile. It's looking a little dour here. It's not what I'm after. Although I got to be careful with the pinky brace because you might hit some wet spots. So I'll probably carry that up a little more. Just a tad more. These are those little adjustments, kind of constantly making. It's like, is the painting communicating like I intended it to? And so, kind of watching these subtle shapes, and I have so little to work with here. Yeah, see, I didn't even like that move. So here's the this is always the frustrating thing about like the small adjustments. You're like, okay, this is gonna do it, and then it doesn't, and you're like, okay. I know you guys didn't believe me when I told you that, some days it just comes together, and some days it's like, no, that's not looking how I want, and kind of battling back and forth. It's also those moments that I sort of wish that I was doing digital art, because then I could, I don't know, cut and paste and Control Z, and when that wasn't the answer. Okay, still looks a little goofy. Working on it. Don't you love it when you make those marks and you're just like, it's not there yet. It looks something strange. And then you get stuck in one place, as I am now. But I can't quite go away until we've solved this issue. I think I'm gonna have to my drawing. Sending out the chin a little more. I don't know if that was the answer either. See, here it is, when you're just kind of like saying, oh, yeah, maybe that's gonna do it, maybe not. I think what I do want to do, I think one thing that is happening is I need to carry this shadow up a little higher. And I think that that's gonna help too. Yep, wet paint, small dots. Yes. I've been there. I feel you. I feel your pain. Use the pinky, and then all of a sudden, you've dotted your surface. Especially if it's a transition you really love. Man, I'm so sorry, but I lament with you. So I think it's looking a little cooler than I had it. So I mixed up a little more of the cerulean, the viridian, just to cool it off down here some. Get a little more of a softer transition, and by softer, I guess a slower gradation. All right. For now, I think it's all. I think it's good enough. Good enough to move on. Not happy totally, but I'm gonna. It's taken up too much of the time, so I'm gonna switch and kind of move into this region. So the front side of the eye, just kind of darker, as this whole shape kind of comes around here. Although I have it kind of lighten it a little more. Gonna pull in a little bit of this red just because I know it's a little more red than I have it here. It's lighter than I have it, but then it cools off kind of in this space here. And those are those nice, one of the funnest things about painting a portrait, painting face, painting skin tones are those beautiful little transitions that you just get to enjoy. So weird things you can get excited about. Okay, I was trying to make a little bit of a cooler light. For the front side of this face. Oh, kind of greener, just a slight variance there. And then I'll do the same, make a little bit of a purple. Didn't get as dark as I wanted. Here, a nice shadow, so we can tell the sculptural quality of the bone structure underneath. Really critical, some of these spaces. I think about that same color is happening here coming down, softening. A little more of a highlight here than I have. Not a whole lot. Kind of carries down into the hair here. I might just kind of drag it a little bit there, maybe get a little cerulean and drag a little bit of a highlight in there. And then sometimes I'm just like, wow, you know, that ended up working. We're gonna just kind of leave that. He'll do it here too. Hair is almost always best just left alone. You know, just a couple of strokes, keep it light, keep it very painterly, and yeah, don't overdo it. Getting out my mid range. There's kind of a warm, as I am working my way around, mostly trying to cover up my ground layer, which I still see in a few spots. I see a nice kind of warm spot here. This is probably a little too orangey, but kind of putting that in there next to the hair, dragging other color in there you don't want. Deciding. I'm still kind of doing these sort of colors. I carry the shadow down the ear. I can't see very much of it, and I'm not trying to put all these flyaways in. I may try to do a little bit of the hair here, and maybe just a tad here, but I will try to keep it pretty simple. I was kind of wondering when I, show the composition to the client, whether or not they would like, profile view, or, sometimes you just never know what to expect. I don't know, they were excited about it right away, liked it. And usually I get a little more feedback, I feel like, so. Still moving around, seeing a few structures in the ear that I haven't described yet. There's kind of a warm shadow that comes around here underneath. There's really nothing cool in there at all. It's all quite warm and fleshy, a lot of blood flowing in there. Then you see areas that you've like completely neglected. I was like, I'd never even put any paint down here. I had to look, like, what is even happening in that space? I don't even know. It's a little softer here. Yeah, overwork is It's really the curse of us all. So I agree there, Agnes. I'm like trying to be careful here. It gets a little warmer as it comes here. Still lighter. There are some things you can count on, you know, there being kind of a warmth in certain areas of the Caucasian face. You know, around the cheekbones, and sometimes you grab paint, mess things up. Just kind of notice she's got structurally this carries down a little bit here farther than I have it. Okay. All right, I do need to really get into that eye. I'm kind of avoiding it because there's nothing exciting about it. I think that's really my problem. Is I'm like, oh, it's not terribly. It's nothing to write home about. I don't have an awesome glint or a great vantage point that describes things in a way that you know you get excited to paint some things, right? You're just like, oh, I can't wait to tear into that with paint. And other areas you're like, well, I guess I have to put an eye on this person. So we'll work on that. So we'll mix in here, get a little bit of the... I just wish I could make out more information, but I can't. And that's okay. Back and forth. It's a little lighter up here than I have it. All right, let's get a nice dark in there. It's my mixed black, which y'all are tired of hearing about, but burnt sienna, ultramarine blue. You know, it's all really very soft in this region, so I don't want to, you know, and really the information is there, it's okay. It's Get another little liner going here. There's kind of a little bit of a highlight here. And I'm gonna put it in. I think his nose is looking a little big, so I'm gonna come back in on this side, on this side here, size. I'm gonna come back in on this side and kind of work it down some, but that's gonna require kind of a bit of a repainting of the stuff that's back there. I don't know if I'll do that on the stream because I don't really know how exciting that'll be. Like I needed a little more oomph down here. I'll soften this shadow edge down here. I tell you, this is the hardest thing about portraiture in general, is just like after a while you've got so many blind spots and just areas that you didn't work or you've kind of forgotten about. So I'll take kind of get lost around and just kind of jumping around. Yeah. Okay. Agnes, then I will try to rework the nose. I think it's going to be working from outside in, kind of bringing it down some. Although I'm kind of looking. Here's the. Kind of here are the parts where I sort of agonize the most as to what needs. I think it's a little bit of a structure. I think if it comes in slightly, it'll do the trick. Maybe. And that's what's funny is like you're saying, okay, now this is what it needs. I think maybe also though just looking, I think the edge of the eye is kind of compare with the bottom of the nostril. Oh, that's pretty close. So when I get into some of these parts that, you know, for whatever reason, they're just not sitting right, it's almost always a drawing decision first for me. It's like, okay, really assess the drawing and see what's happening. So I'm gonna try first just to carry this out just a little more. It could be part of it. So a little bit of a roundedness to that I don't know that I have. Millimeters. I feel like I do see just the slightest amount of I'm gonna do things that I know are there and not necessarily things that I see. See again if that like see if that starts to help or not. I don't know that it is. All right, let's do a little mixing. If I can, always the challenge is remembering I'm just gonna grab a round here, and yeah, it's bigger, but it's got a point, and so I will be able to work it a little tighter. So I think a couple things, quite possibly bringing up this line some, bringing this whole side down a bit. So now, it's gonna try to mix together. I know it was my black, and there's a little bit of this background color had like everything in it. It's greener. Probably getting close here. I'm gonna go ahead and put something down and just see how close we are. It's pretty close for this darker shape anyway. Yeah, I think that's gonna help. I realized even that alone was satisfying there, that motion. That shadow up just a little bit. I like this color, seems pretty good. We'll see. Sometimes it kind of dries differently. We'll see, Agnes. Thank you for being here. Mix up a little bit of a lighter because there's kind of a two-tone thing going on in the background. It's really only two different colors happening. Yeah, if you just tuned in, I'm trying to kind of fix my drawing by where, you know, I just missed the mark. I do that a lot. I'm like one of those things that I think everyone assumes, you know, artists who do this sort of a thing don't make mistakes or something. And not true. See if I got this lighter one. Not bad. All right. So I just wanted to bring the nose in just a little bit. Felt like I had kind of drawn it out a little farther, which I do that sort of thing. Just glance back at the stream. The forehead looks a little bigger, but I'm also, the camera's kind of coming from above here, so little. I like looking at the stream because it gives me like a fresh perspective on it. But it's like, well, that's kind of not what's happening here in the studio. Okay. Come back in. Can bring this down some. Agnes, I hope that did it. Just kind of bringing that down a little bit. I know you might be watching this later. I just had to it was kind of nice to be able to get a little bit of that that background color mixed in so that it was a little softer anyway, to continue a conversation we were having earlier. Yeah, it's fun. It's funny, isn't it, Brock? It's like, it's just one of those things that it's bizarre. I never get it. um, And it also might, sometimes I think maybe it comes down to like personal preference too, where it's just like, I don't know, I just like it if it looks that way, which is probably says something about my tastes, I guess. Tastes and facial structure somehow coming into play in all this. This whole process is always just, it's like a surprise. Always the things that are going on are really liking this line a lot. I don't know how accurate it is, but I like it. Yeah, it's these little changes, and in fact, like I think I'm thinking I'll make some more adjustments. To so I think I'm gonna wipe out a little bit up here. So I think I'm gonna just shrink this down some too. I mean, yeah, it's definitely exaggerated on the camera coming from this angle, but like, you know, the more that I look at it here, it's just not working. So I'm gonna kind of come in here. Wipe out a little more. I'll have to come back in and fix that a little bit, but promise the model doesn't have a, it's an old joke, it's a dad joke, but you know, promise the model doesn't have a 5 head. um, So, man, I'm really glad that like things didn't go as planned. 'Cause I don't know if you guys believe me when I'll be working another day and I'm like, all right, I like how that's going. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. I think there's probably assumption that that's what I say all the time, and it's really not. Sometimes there has to be kind of big cutting and adjusting to get some of these areas to just feel right. And I don't know what happened. Like the drawing seemed fine, and then I get in here and I'm working on it, and it's like, whoa, that is not okay. So let it be known. I really think about it almost like in professional sports or something where, you know, some days your field goal percentage is not very good. Can't make a goal to save your life some days. I'll have to come back in a little more with that. And just provide a little more coverage there. I think I'd probably kind of do it here. Decent enough just for the moment. I'll have to come back in and kind of repair that section. Oh, almost perfect. Don't my wife will assure you otherwise. I get plenty wrong, so. Okay. Feeling loads better about this right now. Still, well, I tell you what, here's the thing with painting. If it wasn't hard, especially people, if it wasn't hard, I don't know that any of us would do it. Because there's just part of it is going in knowing this could go sideways at any time. That's weirdly part of the risk reward thing that just seems like, you know, yes, I must give this a shot even if I fail miserably. Is that who I think it is?
Ernest Wood.
Yeah.
You got a giant package.
A giant package. Hey, say hi to Barack.
Brock, what's up, homie? It's been a minute. I think you got your new chair.
Nice.
It says sit happy on the box.
It does sit happy, yes. That is what I'm trying to do. So.
Can I open it?
Yeah, go for it.
Did you get Nature Black?
Yeah, I think so.
What is this?
So, I'm 42. I probably after this birthday, you know, hit 43. I don't think I can any longer say that I am, you know, in my lower 40s, and so things like my hips, well, mostly my right hip, I don't know, it just hurts. So I'm trying out what's called a saddle chair, and Sean's unboxing it. Should be a YouTube video.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. So.
It's really in here.
Yeah, I was like, I can hear the fight.
Yep.
To the thrill of the.
This thing's heavy.
Wow, that is sturdy. And you do CrossFit.
Did you know that? Did everybody else know that? I'll tell you.
You do CrossFit, and that's heavy to you?
Yeah, it means that it's heavy. Heavy. I don't even know. I'm trying to find all the parts. Here's the other thing. Okay. Dang, dude. This thing is super dense.
I mean,
You just didn't have to go to Best Buy to stuff.
it had a dense price tag.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, it was definitely worth it. Maybe.
So I'm gonna sit in the saddle chair that kind of not only forces me to sit up a little straighter, which I usually don't have too much of a problem with that with painting. I kind of always am perched. But it also, I don't know how to say this. it sits you splayed as though you were on a horse. There you go. Supposedly better for the hips, and I'm gonna give it a go because I do.
Get that wide angle.
Yeah, get that wide angle. So not everyone can be painting in their studio on a horse. Some of us
in their studio on a horse.
some of us peasants have to buy chairs to simulate what it must be like to paint
On a horse?
on a horse. Yeah.
I think that's a great way to explain it.
Um,
Have you ever sat on a horse before?
Yeah. Kind of only once.
Well, now you're about to do it all the time. It says good posture, fluent circulation, and active sitting.
Active sitting, that is the key. Or that is the goal. Anyway. Sometimes it's shocking the drawing things that I'm like okay with in the moment until I get here in the paint and I'm like, wow, can't believe I was okay with that. Because now I am much more satisfied. I think, you know, I took nearly, so I'm talking to my international audience, I think I almost took about 1.5 centimeters off of the top here. Shocking. And
inches?
I mean, I feel like those sort of errors are almost always recognizable, man, but until I got here in the paint, it just wasn't. So.
Yeah, how long did it take this thing to get here? Like 2 weeks?
Yeah. It was funny. I mean, I watched it fly. I watched it get to France. I watched it. Yeah, it was out there, man.
Where did you order it from?
So they only make these and sell them. No, in Europe.
This is a European chair.
European chair.
Wow.
Just thinking about my health. Want to be able to walk for a while.
Plus, you get to tell people that you sit in a European chair. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that probably makes something.
So I said I was just gonna open the box, but now I'm putting it together.
Okay.
So I'm just saying that that's happening.
Yeah, and it's not like we can slap that baby in here and start. I mean, I'm gonna have to readjust all camera settings, everything, because that is it is a different monster.
Gonna have to get some kind of saddle to put on top of it.
So yeah, I'm gonna start using a saddle chair as my trying to stay hip healthy well into my 80s.
You're using my chair.
Yeah, seriously, because I was hurting. I've spent working on these paintings. I've spent way too much time sitting.
Well, hey, it's a good thing we got this when we did then.
I did order it because I was like, I'm gonna be in here a lot over the next month, so I should probably do that.
It's okay. I'm still just unpackaging it. The Europeans really know how to make sure things
Really know how to package an item.
broken in transit.
In all fairness, I do the same when I'm shipping paintings internationally. I've been accused of Fort Knox style packaging from some clients in England.
Do you know what Fort Knox is?
Yeah. Probably shouldn't, but they do.
I think it's a secret. That's where we keep all our money.
That's where we keep our gold that we pretend that we used to have a standard for, and now it's the Wild West.
I feel like you're trying to say something, but not saying something.
Yep.
Okay. So this goes. This. What do you think? Is that it? Oh, that's it. And this goes on top of that.
They asked me what roller I wanted, and I was like, well, presently I'm on carpet, but studios change, so whatever you'd recommend. Is there some sort of in-between option? And I just left it. What's going on over there?
I'm sitting on it.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I'm on a horse.
Yeah? This. Yeah, you still put your feet down, and then, yeah, so your feet still stay rested, and then I think you kind of turn it up, or turn it so that your back is pitched. So you're more like straighter back, I think.
You turn it up.
All of everything should be adjustable. The pitch, the width, because it.
It's supposed to fit your crotch.
Basically.
There's another. Hang on, what does this do? Oh, that's what it is. Oh, yeah. I think I'm sitting on it the wrong way.
And that could be too.
And the pitch is the other way. No, that can't be right. That doesn't feel right at all. Look, I don't know how to sit on a horse, but I don't think it's supposed to be like that. Yep, that's better. And this one. I don't know, man. I did my best.
Hey, you did great.
Put it together. I'm gonna go find a bit.
You have to. Is there something you have to build?
Huh? No, bit for like a horse. It was a joke. Yeah, you get it.
All right. All right, friends. I think we've just about done it here. Cleaning up some edges. I'm gonna probably redraw this to carry this little back. So I mean that'll be like if I take, and again this is shocking to me how weird it ended up looking. So I'm gonna probably take off about that much, and maybe even kind of bring down the side of the head a little bit. There you go. I make mistakes. Drawing errors happen often.
Why does she look like she has an alien head?
Exactly.
That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
What do you want me to do with this box?
We're gonna have to do something with boxes. We've got quite a few down there. Recycling, I think, is basically full.
We're gonna have to go to the church.
So.
We can go to my grandma's. My grandma lives in an apartment, and they have a whole room for trash.
I will. Yeah, we can probably. I'm gonna take my buffer brush here, just in the last few moments, and I'm just gonna kind of clean up some of my transitions just a little bit, and then I gotta sit in this new chair, everybody. Gotta start on the road to healing my body.
Brock didn't even say hi to me.
I'm wondering if maybe...
I made him moderator. He's still moderator.
Maybe he stepped away from the computer for a bit, you know.
Stepped away at the wrong time.
If he tunes back in, he'll know. And
That I struggled with the chair.
and that you missed him and that you care.
Yeah, bro. He's my boy from
Turkey.
Turkey. Ah, he said hi, Sean. Brock! What's up, moderator?
All right. I think, I don't want to cut off, you know, the good times here, but I think that's probably where I'm going to wrap it today. I mean, at least here I'll do the drapery, or maybe since I've got some skin tones on the palette, I might jump to another kind of skin tone area. We'll see. You know, trying to save a little bit of work. So yeah, there'll be a little more touch up. It'll be pretty minimal, but hey, if anything today, you know that doesn't always work out, and sometimes massive adjustments have to be made in order for it to work. So
Yeah, my stick figures sometimes have longer arms and legs.
Yeah.
And the triangle isn't very great.
Gotta watch out for that.
Yeah.
All right, friends. Thanks so much, Brock, Agnes, A72, and anyone else who is normally on. Really appreciate you.
Was A72 here?
Huh? Yeah. Yeah, it was earlier. So yeah. No.
Oh, that's cool.
So we'll see you on the other side. So yep. Thanks, Brock.
Bye, Brock. Hopefully, I'll come up here when you're here in a normal amount of time next time.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll get there.
We'll figure it out. Maybe I can come to Turkey.
Oh.
I'm not married. We haven't taken my honeymoon yet.
Yeah, honeymoon in Turkey.
Honeymoon in Turkey. I'm more of a chicken person. But... Get it?
Wow.
I didn't nail it.
All right. Hey, best everyone. God bless. We'll see you next time. Thanks.
Bye, Brock. Bye, everybody.